Okay, hey everybody, it is Eric here. It's Tuesday evening, and this is the Valley's most in-depth weather forecast video. We call it Weather for Weather. Geeks, what a beautiful, beautiful day as expected for today, and we've got more great weather coming up over the next couple of days, but as usual, I'll find some interesting things to talk about. Allow me to be a little bit of a Debbie Downer here at the start of the video tonight. Our high temperature today dropped by a degree. We are past the peak of our climatological average highs now, which run from July 7th to the 22nd, when our average high is 82. Now we're back down to 81, and we'll stay there until August the 11th. This begins the process that continues all the way through January the 10th, during the dead of winter, from January 10th through, I believe it's like the 24th, roughly 2-week period. Our average highs bottom out at 32. One more little Debbie Downer note this evening, of course. We're losing daylight, not really fast just yet. That will kick in August and then especially into September and October, but we have lost about a half an hour off of our daylight since the peak back at the beginning of summer on June 21st, when there was 15 hours and 8 seconds of daylight. Now we're down to 14 hours, 38 minutes. By September 1st, we'll lose about an hour and a half additional daylight, all the way down to the darkness of December, when things bottom out at 9 hours and 13 minutes on the first day of winter. We've still got about 5.5 hours of daylight to lose over the next 4.5 months? 4.5 months, yes. A little math. All right. Yesterday I posted on social media and talked about it a little in this video that the first 3 weeks of July, the hottest since the 1930s across the area. And this provoked some discussion, especially on Facebook. Hey, what about like 1988, during that really hot and dry midsummer period back then? How could this year be hotter? Well, we talk about averages, both in terms of highs and lows, and then we kind of, if you will, average them together for the daily average temperature. And while this year's high temperatures have not been nearly as hot as some of our hotter summers, including 1988, it's the low temperatures that are dragging up the overall averages. And this has been a trend, especially since the turn of the century. Overnight low temperatures are increasing pretty rapidly. And this is not only true here, but in a lot of places as well across the U.S. We're seeing warmer nights in many, many places at an even faster rate than the warming we're seeing during the daytime. In other words, our highs are not warming as rapidly as the overnight lows go. And we did have some some comments on Facebook, those who are not real believers in climate change and that sort of thing, talking about, back in the 1930s, that must have been climate change back then. Well, yes, North America was hot in the mid-30s. We had the Dust Bowl years. It was incredibly hot. North America and parts of Europe suffered greatly in the mid-30s. Look at all the blue across the rest of the globe, though. Global climate change is just that, global. We have to think big here, not just locally. We live where we live, and so we tend to pay attention to just the weather where we live, but climate change is a global phenomenon. And look at summer temperatures over the last few years compared to average. Just about the entire globe is orange or red, and this is just showing the summer. Similar trends, of course, have been seen year-round. All right, let's get back to today's weather, which was delightful, as promised. Temperatures were in the mid-70s, and look at the dew points. 48, the 6 o'clock dew point, or the 7 o'clock dew point here at the Youngstown Warren Airport. I don't remember the last time we saw a 48-degree dew point, and we've come a long way since dew points were up in the mid, and in some places, upper 70s. Just a couple of days ago, we had some really, really tropical air. It feels wonderful outside. It looks wonderful outside as well. Visible satellite loop from this evening shows the last of the fair weather popcorn cumulus fading away. Be a clear sunset. Kind of an interesting little feature here up over lower Michigan. This is a little upper level disturbance pinwheeling down through the Great Lakes and actually producing some thunderstorms around Detroit, Ann Arbor, heading back towards Lansing this evening. These will fade away pretty quickly over the next couple of hours. In fact, most of these raindrops probably won't survive the trip over the lake into the Cleveland area. No doubt seeing a nice lightning show across the lake right now. Anyone on a roller coaster at Cedar Point is probably seeing some lightning off in the northern horizon. But again, these should fall apart, and I'm not concerned about any rain around here. The most active weather in the country this evening is actually with the same cold front that rolled through here last night and this morning is impacting parts of the mid-Atlantic states and down into the Carolinas today. There's actually a tornado on Cape Cod, south and east of Boston, Massachusetts, earlier on this afternoon. Also, we're getting into the North American monsoon season across the Southwest. Yes, it does rain in places such as Phoenix and Tucson and Albuquerque. And typically, once you get into the second half of July and into August, you get these daytime thunderstorms that pop up. And this is when some of these desert locations see a lot of their yearly rain during the second half of the summer season. So the radar loop this afternoon, you're going to see a lot of radar loops like that across parts of the Southwest in the coming weeks. With our clear sky overhead tonight, good night to bust out a telescope and check out what the sky has to offer. The moon will not rise until after midnight. It'll be about half full, a little over half full. It's a waning moon. We had our full moon last week. Mars sets pretty soon after sunset, about 9:32, but Jupiter's out there for a good chunk of the night, and Saturn's basically out there all night. Jupiter's the brighter of the two, and Saturn is to the left of Jupiter. And both of these planets reached their opposition earlier this summer. They're still very bright in our nighttime sky. All right, beautiful weather coming up for tomorrow. I do think that with that little disturbance in the vicinity, a little pocket of colder air aloft, there probably will be more in the way of cumulus clouds tomorrow afternoon than we had today. The sky may even be technically partly to mostly cloudy for a couple of hours tomorrow afternoon, but it's still going to be a great day. We'll get into the mid-70s just like we did today. And then, Thursday looks great. Ignore the green on the model here. Not buying that at all. I think it's a dry day. And then hardly a cloud in the sky at all for Friday and the start of the weekend. It is going to start to turn hot, but as we talked about last evening, it's not going to be humid just yet through the weekend. So for water fire and anything else that is going on across the area this weekend, it looks toasty, it looks sunny, but not as humid as it was. Last week, NOAA put out their August outlook. I'll do the same as we go towards the first day of the month later next week. Right now, even odds of cooler than average, warmer than average, according to the government forecast here, but I'll tell you, just don't bet against warmth. We very rarely these days seem to be able to have a cooler than average month, and looking at some of the long-range modeling, I kind of suspect August will follow suit and be yet another warmer than average month. That'll do it for tonight. Thanks for watching. As always, I'll see you back here on Wednesday for a fresh edition of Weather for Weather Geeks.